As the rain poured down in torrents, Jennifer stood in front of an old, decrepit mansion at the end of a winding, unlit road. She checked her phone for the 5th time, wondering if she had the right address. This was supposed to be her blind date's house, but there was something decidedly eerie about the place. Moments later, the door creaked open, revealing a man whose appearance sent a shiver down Jennifer's spine. He had a sallow complexion, sunken eyes, and a crooked smile that didn't reach his eyes. He introduced himself as Malcolm, her blind date, and welcomed her inside. Jennifer had been introduced to Malcolm by her close friend, Lisa. Lisa had known Malcolm from their college days, and she believed they would be a perfect match. The blind date was set up at Lisa's insistence, and she assured Jennifer that Malcolm was a kind, charming man who shared many of Jennifer's interests. Jennifer trusted Lisa's judgment and agreed to meet Malcolm at the mansion on that fateful night. The mansion's interior was as unsettling as its exterior, with faded wallpaper, dusty furniture, and cobweb-covered chandeliers. Jennifer was immediately on edge, but she couldn't find an excuse to leave without being rude. So she decided to give Malcolm a chance, hoping that he was nothing more than an eccentric with an affinity for old homes. Malcolm led Jennifer into a dimly lit dining room where a single candle flickered on an ancient, ornate table. The room was adorned with old portraits, each depicting stern-looking individuals whose eyes seemed to follow her every move. As they sat down, Malcolm insisted on pouring Jennifer a glass of wine. She hesitated but eventually accepted, her unease growing with every sip. Malcolm's conversation, however, was far from comforting. He spoke of his fascination with the macabre, his obsession with death, and his collection of antique, sinister artifacts. He seemed far too eager to discuss his morbid interests. Jennifer decided it was time to excuse herself. But just as she was about to stand up, the candle went out, plunging the room into total darkness. She heard Malcolm's chilling laughter and then felt his icy hand on her arm. Panic set in as she realized she was trapped in the mansion with a man who was clearly unhinged. As Jennifer fumbled in the dark, her hand grazed the edge of the table and she grabbed a heavy metal candlestick. With a trembling hand, she managed to strike a match and relight the candle, revealing Malcolm's menacing grin inches from her face. She swung the candlestick with all her might, striking Malcolm in the head. He let out a pained groan and stumbled backward, giving Jennifer the chance to make a run for it. She sprinted through the dark labyrinthine corridors of the mansion, her heart pounding in her chest. Malcolm pursued her, his footsteps echoing through the haunted hallways. Jennifer's breaths came in ragged gasps as she desperately searched for a way out. She was led deeper into the mansion, each room more sinister than the last. The walls seemed to ooze dread, and she couldn't escape the feeling that the house itself was a malevolent entity conspiring with Malcolm to keep her imprisoned. Finally, Jennifer reached a room that seemed to be a dead end, its walls adorned with life-sized mannequins that loomed like silent sentinels. She heard Malcolm's approaching footsteps and realized that she had no other option. Desperation fueled her as she attempted to blend in with the mannequins, mimicking their lifeless poses. Malcolm burst into the room, his eyes darting around, searching for any sign of movement. He passed inches away from Jennifer, his breath chilling her to the bone. The room seemed to hold its breath, and for a moment she thought she might escape his twisted clutches. But Malcolm's gaze fixed on her, and a wicked grin crept across his face. He lunged toward Jennifer, and she made one final, desperate attempt to escape. With a burst of adrenaline, she bolted from her hiding place and raced back into the dark corridors. The chase continued, their footsteps echoing through the mansion. Jennifer was running out of breath, her energy waning, but she couldn't give up. She had to escape this house of horrors. Just when it seemed like Malcolm was closing in on her, Jennifer spotted an open door leading to a courtyard. She burst through it and found herself in a twisted garden, overgrown with thorns and choked by creeping ivy. Jennifer kept running, her dress torn, her feet scraped, until she reached the decrepit gates at the edge of the property. With a final burst of strength, she pushed through the gate and stumbled into the rain-soaked night. Her breath came in heaving gasps as she sprinted down the winding road, away from the mansion of nightmares. She knew she had narrowly escaped the clutches of a deranged man, and the memory of her blind date gone horribly wrong would forever haunt her. Jennifer never learned what horrors Malcolm had in store for her, and she had no desire to find out. She left behind the mansion and the terrifying memories it held, grateful to be alive and with a newfound appreciation for the dangers that could hide behind the guise of a seemingly innocent blind date.